So we're 5 minutes later. Asking me in Italian to kind of catch up on time is going to be difficult. But I want to start by thanking all of you for being here, and also thanking our sponsors for making this possible. This is the first time we do the Open Source Strategy Forum in London, so I'm really excited. I live in San Francisco, but you might hear slightly European accent / Italian. Thank you so much. It might be useful. So again, I want to just thank our sponsors. We all have a booth back there, so make sure that you come around, and also our media partners. In case you're not familiar with FINOS, which I hope by now you would, you might remember us from the times of the Symphony Software Foundation. We started in 2015, focused on building a community around Symphony, which again, I'm assuming most of you know as a software. And earlier this year, with our board, which I'm pretty lucky to be the executive director of, a pretty influential board with a lot of, again, both technology and financial institutions, we realized that there was a much broader opportunity, and that the context in the industry was changing, and we could go after, enabling broader open source, open standards, open API collaboration across the industry. And so, early in the year, in April, we actually launched a new brand, FINOS. By the way, in case you were wondering, it's FINOS. I've heard multiple ways of pronouncing it. I'm not really married to it, but it's not FINOS, it's not FINOS, it's FINOS. And it stands for FinTech Open Source Foundation. We're not an operating system, yet. So, 3 main questions that we'd like to sort of get answered over the next 3 days, and we hope that you will take this as sort of key takeaways from these 3 days. It's always a question about why. I'm hoping to make a dent today to why you should consider contributing to open source, whether you're a financial institution, or whether you're a technology vendor, or whether you're both, whatever you consider yourself. I'm trying to make a dent today, and if you have seen, or you were at the Open Source Strategy Forum last year in New York, that was really the big focus for last year, shining a light in this industry as to why it makes sense for this industry to collaborate in the open. This edition of the Strategy Forum is going to be very focused on how. We think that even just in the last 6 months, there's been a major understanding of how and when to collaborate in the open in this industry. So it's really important that you get your processes from a technology, legal, and really cultural standpoint together to make sure that you're not left behind. And finally, what do we as FINOS have to do with this? I'm going to try to make a dent on number 1 and number 3 in the next 12 minutes. But make sure that you attend as many sessions as possible, and don't forget to drop by to our booth. All the team is here. Some of us have lived in San Francisco, some of us in New York, some in Barcelona. So this is a unique opportunity to meet the whole team, and certainly the whole community. We're going to have a lot of programs over the next 2 days, and contributors, joining in person, which I think is a very powerful way of building community. Now, how did I get here? How did we get here? Again, as an Italian, I can give you the spiel of I'm passionate about open source. I grew up in open source, and that's certainly there is some truth to it. I always worked in open source companies, or in open source communities, and that certainly was sort of out of college what drove me to this. But the truth is, this is not just about passion. Over the last 5 months, I'm sure you've been following the news. There have been some major, milestones, if you want, in the recognition of the value of open source and the commercial value of open source. I mean, these are huge numbers, and we got the Cloudera, Hortonworks merger. We got our friends from Red Hat and GitHub in the room, who have been a good time of their life right now. And I think that's again a testament to the fact that we are way past that sort of old idea that open source equals free. And so I think there is an element of passion. I think there is an element of opportunity for everyone, but this is certainly a commercial, everyone that participates in open source communities, most open source communities are based on corporate funding, and there will be no quick advancement of open source communities without corporate funding. So I want to make sure that it's clear that there is not just, I think, a broader benefit, and we'll talk about that, but very much a specific, tangible commercial benefit for you to engage in open source communities. And so, given these three events are, in San Francisco, a bit the talk of the town, and the other talk of the town is always giving, pitches to investors. How many investors have you pitched today? What's your startup? How much is it worth? What's your equity? I figured that I did something a little bit non-standard, which is doing a pitch deck, but not pitching. I'm not asking for money. This is a pitch deck for contributing to our community, and in general, contributing to open source, and why would you want to do it as an open source, as a financial services developer or, decision maker. And so, I hope that by the end of this talk, you'll be convinced and you'll be sold into participating to our community. And in general, to other open source communities, we want to be clear here. We see ourselves as an enabler for the industry, but by no means you should only be doing open source with us. We love you too, but again, this is about enabling. We are a non-profit, to enable the industry for the benefit of the whole industry. So it's not just for us. So starting in the pitch deck fashion. So what's the problem that we're trying to solve here? Well, I think I see three main problems, and they are, I think, pretty connected. In general, collaborating in regulated industries is hard. I think you all know. That means collaborating in software, as well as collaborating, in any other fashion, if you want. It is, regulations, which are, necessary in many ways, makes it pretty complicated. And so I think that's when we realized that there was, again, an opportunity to bring proven to be successful methodologies of collaboration that we've seen in other industries in financial services. A big effect, I think, of the complexity of collaboration here is that, the technology landscape in financial services is pretty fragmented. Obviously we're living a revolution in this industry, but again, there's a very much, I think, organic growth that is not necessarily consolidated. It's not really showing those traits of consolidation, of standardization that we've seen in other industries. And so I think that makes, it creates a vicious circle, You can't collaborate. Your technology is not, as standard as it could be, and that creates a spiral that it's very difficult to come out of. And we think open source can be a solution to get past that. Finally, this is a broader problem, and that's why foundations exist in many ways, in many cases. Corporate open source is not easy in general, and that's regardless of financial services or the industry you're in. The open source movement started as an individual movement, so when you throw money, when you throw corporate interest in that, it's really difficult to balance that. And so one way that foundations help is by disintermediating and creating this safe space for both large, small companies and individuals to participate. And so these are really the three main problems that we see ourselves solving, or trying to solve, or help solving for this industry. And so when we rebranded earlier in the year, we defined our vision as driving open innovation in financial services. I'm not going to spend too much into this again. I don't want this to be a pitch deck about FINOS, but a couple of points here. One, what is open innovation? Well, innovation can be a fluffy word, and I'm going to be a little bit more specific about what we mean. But just know that we are not just focused on open source. We have a lot of programs that are working on open standards. We have an open developer platform. We're starting offering open APIs and open data. There's many ways that open collaboration can happen. If you're not ready for open source, we will be able to help you and handhold you through the maturity curve. Open standard is a good start. Open API is a good second step, and then hopefully we'll be able to build common platforms together. I think we have a massive potential here, again, to create a common infrastructure that is so much needed in this industry. In terms of the opportunity for all of you. I think my passion for open source comes from the fact that there is, an individual benefit. I like to say that, GitHub is the new LinkedIn in a world where, more and more people code, and the trend doesn't seem to stop. I will not hire anyone without being able to look at the GitHub profile. And so I think it is pretty clear by now, so I'm not going to spend my time on that, why individually you would want to participate to open source communities. I do think that there's also a corporate benefit, and I'll show you a couple of examples. Again, there's plenty of literature there. You'll hear a lot about it over the next couple of days. But again, I'll give you a couple of examples. But I also love the fact that I think there is a global benefit in open collaboration. If we stop reinventing the wheel, if we stop, if we start building on each other's achievements. Again, we're talking about non-competitive technology here. Nobody's talking about sort of giving out your secret sauce. There's no expectation from that. But if we stop reinventing the wheel, we must be doing something good for the world. I mean, what's the point of, I call that sort of talent depth. Rather than building a lot of similar, shallow sort of talent pools, we could build on top of each other and really create a deeper talent, which means faster innovation. So I think there is a global and individual benefit, but if you want to have a bit more, of an idea of what the corporate benefits might be, if you're a technology vendor, you might want to look at that. This comes from a new fund that was just created. It's called Open Source OSS.capital. Actually, this spreadsheet is actually open source itself, so you can go and look at it. It puts together all the commercial open source companies out there, based over the last 13 years, the major ones, showing, based on how much they raised, 8.5 billion in terms of VC, there's been already an outcome of 70 billion almost, and potential evaluation of 140 billion. So again, I'm trying to put numbers on the commercial opportunity of corporate open source. And obviously, we got the Red Hat folks, we got the GitHub folks. You might want to go have a chat with them and see what they think about it. But again, this is just to show that there's a true opportunity here. And what about if you're not a vendor? What if you're, a technology company wannabe? There's a lot of talk about, banks becoming technology companies. I mean, to me, there is a very simple explanation as to why, Silicon Valley, quote unquote, is able to, develop faster or, compete sort of to a next level there. Well, and it's as simple as, in my mind, they just develop less. If you look at, a typical stack of an application that maybe it's built out west, the cloud infrastructure is mutualized. Most of the data stores, middleware, and UI frameworks are all mutualized, are all open source. And probably, how much is left to write in terms of proprietary AP rather than building the whole stack? Very little. I was looking for this number actually over the last few days, and there was a good presentation yesterday from the NPM folks. You probably know them from the JavaScript repository. They said 97% from their standpoint of the UI applications that they see built on JavaScript, it's made of open source components. Only 3% is the custom code. So that just to give you an idea. Might be a little bit pushed, a little bit optimistic, but I would have guessed around 90%, honestly, from my experience. And so, again, regardless whether you are a commercial company selling software or you are a bank wanting to innovate, that's really what open source can bring to you. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because, we have discussed a lot. But how does this work? We have open source projects from which companies build products, which turn into profits. And then a part of it is reinvested in fueling the growth of the ecosystem, whether it's time, so sweat equity, contributions, we'd love to have yours, or money. If you're not ready to contribute, well, you can become a member and still help us accelerate what we do. So this is how generally the whole ecosystem, sort of business model works. And so, we haven't said what do we produce. I mean, FINOS, as I said, we produce innovation. That's what we think as a non-profit, even if we're not here to make money. We hope that what we do can produce faster innovation for the ecosystem. How do we do that? Again, I will recommend you to come and talk to us, but there are three main things that we do. think fundamentally we provide trust. We disintermediate between all these companies, and that's really the standard role of all open source foundation, being an independent, trusted, non-profit place where large corporate and potentially competitors can collaborate together with individuals. But we also have an open developer platform that allows you to be efficient. If you are contributing to the foundation, we want you to be as efficient and as fast as possible and do it in a compliant way. So you hear a lot about our open developer platform over the next 2 days, and we love you to help us sort of shape it. And finally, we, as FINOS, as a team, we help you grow and succeed. So the programs that are in the foundation and the members that work in the foundation, we have a vested interest in growing the project, growing the adoption, growing the community, making sure that it's successful and it's done in the right way. So it's a bit of an eye chart, and I'm running out of time. But these are all our programs. This is the different initiatives, and I'm really excited to have 2 more programs that will be discussed and announced today. But programs are really just containers for collaborative initiatives. We have open standardization efforts like FDC3, we have code like Plexus, Hadouken, we have the Open Developer Platform, which is managed by the FDX program, Financial Developer Experience. We have enablement programs like the Open Source Readiness Program, which again, today is a big part of. So I'm not going to go through all of this, but please come and ask us how you can contribute. Anyone can participate to our program. There's no price tag, there's no membership. If you cannot participate to an existing group or contribute something new, this is all open source. Okay, so we'd love to hear from you. I don't have a roadmap, because truly the roadmap is you. We are a relatively small team, and certainly our members help us drive the direction of the foundation, but it's about contributions. How fast we can move, and what are these first problems that we'll solve together, really depends on how many contributions we'll get. Really depends on how much you see value in solving problems together. So I have a few ideas, and you'll hear a lot of them over the next 2 days at the different sessions, but again, this is not going to happen, and the pace this is going to happen depends on you, depends on what contributions we get to the foundation. And so, I would say Europe, we need you, which is kind of like what my government says all the time for the last 30 years. But truly, we wanted to do the conference here in London also to show that while we're all, most of us based in the US, this is a global community. We have a lot of representation here from vendors and from financial institutions. And I do believe, having grown up here, especially in Northern Europe, that there is a massive grassroots understanding of open source and passion for open source. So I think this is about time to make it happen also in this industry. That said, are you sold? Again, I'm not asking for money. Thank you so much. And